2009's Great Disappointments films gets a sequel, which... why? Now, Wrath of the Titans is the sequel to Clash of the Titans. That came out in 2009, and to be honest, it was a big disappointment. A lot of people don't like it. I'm one of those people that does like it, but I don't really pay much attention to it when it's on TV, or even if I'm watching it, I'm normally just sort of reading a book or gaming. It's just there as background, and that's practically it. This one, again, has that exact same formula. It still, to me, feels like that. So, here's my reasons why. The story of the film is... I don't know if it must have ran out on the whole when we were writing it, so they came up with this. The Greek gods are losing their power. You know, they're becoming more like human than nowadays, and it's up to Perseus, played by Sam Worthington, to kind of restore, to sort of save them and also save his father from this great massive titan that's been in prison for years, and it goes on and on and on. Before I end up sort of dissing the film as much, I'll just get to sort of the good of the film. There are quite a few good action scenes in the film, I've got to be honest. Like the start of the action scene when he faces that sort of two-headed dog, that's pretty cool, and the sort of the Cyclops that are in it, that's actually pretty cool. And there are a couple, and the labyrinth's actually really interesting in how they sort of persuade that. Also, I like the fact it's more grittier, sort of like a wee bit darker than the first one, because let's be honest, probably one of the reasons why the first one was a total shit bomb was because it felt kind of polished. It kind of felt too clean, too sparkly, and this is kind of dirty. That's what I quite like about it. Also, probably what saves this film. And now let's have a little bit more fun here. What's bad about the film? Some of the acting in this film is not good, and some of the actors are just there and then they just get killed off straight away. I mean, what was kind of good about the first one was that there were actors in there, but these actors were quite, like, they had a strong purpose sort of in the first film. But these ones, there's only like what 3 main actors in this journey, and they've got these sort of other side actors, but they don't really do much. One of them, you know, does quite little in the film, and yet we all know what happens to those characters. So that's like one of them. The other thing is like, as I say, some of the action scenes were good, but then some of the action scenes were quite terrible and probably quite short. They're not as interesting to watch. It's just like, it's a bit of a mess. Like, 1 minute they build, and here's one of the things, right? The build up. They build up, and the God War, I forgot his name, right? But him, right? You see him, right, and he does something quite shockingly, you know, and then they kind of build and build up on it, and then when the big fight happens between him and Perseus, it's just, let's just say it becomes kind of like a rag doll playing with a doll playing with a rag doll, and the way it ends, it's kind of like stupid. It's like, it's predictable, and it kind of feels underused. Now, what's ugly about the film, there's actually quite 2 big things about this ugly. First, right, a lot of people are sort of comparing this, not to the first one or another thing, but they're comparing it to a video game. And I can see why. The thing is, most of the battle scenes you see are more like sort of like bosses. So like you have a boss there, a boss there, a boss there, and then you have like a wee obstacle, and then you've got a boss, and then like the big boss, you face that, and this is, and in order to beat this big boss you have to require 3 weapons, and those 3 weapons combine to make one big weapon to destroy this big boss. Does that not remind you of a video game of a sort? So, but then again, it's probably a bit better produced than, let's say, Underworld Awakening, because that was kind of like a wee bit of a video game. But the second is, this film is pretty damn rushed, and I don't mean by it's a quick film to watch. No, it's the fact everything just happens quickly. Like they just rush everything towards, like, It's like, people were probably complaining the fact that there wasn't enough action scenes in it. They didn't like much of the sort of the slow dialogue. So they decided, you know what, we're going to just put in more action scenes and cut out of the slow dialogue. Doing so, it just feels the film was completely rushed. They didn't know what they were doing. They just wanted to make the film, get out there, and I think it's going to cost some very dearly, considering the Hunger Games and 21 Jump Street, when I went to cinema to watch this film, were completely sold out, and I think it's going to flop really big. It's going to flop harder, I think, than maybe John Carter, but who knows. All I know is it's going to flop. Time for the score time. Now, this is better than Clash of the Titans, so the score I'll give it is an alright score. You're either going to like it or you're going to hate it, and in fact the difference is you're not going to say, oh, this is your best film. It's just that you're going to like it for what it is, kind of what I am, or you're going to hate it because you think it's just dull, boring, and everything else. But for the numbers' sake, it gets a 4.5. It doesn't deserve 5. It's a wee bit better than 4, so it gets that. Well, that's the end of that review. I will try to see Mirror Mirror next. I think I'm seeing it on Monday, so watch out for that, and I'll see you guys next time.